Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of the Acoustic Lounge. My name is Chris Cooke, and my guest today is Robert Morgan Fisher. Robert's a singer-songwriter from the Los Angeles area. The guy writes short stories, he writes screenplays. He's amazing. He's a really, really fantastically well-rounded talent, and I am so thrilled to have him on the lounge today. So let's go catch up with Robert and see what he's up to.
Hi, I'm Robert Morgan Fisher, and I'm glad to be on Chris Cooke's Acoustic Lounge. I'm going to do a couple of songs here after I adjust the light there that I wrote. I'm a neo-narrative songwriter. I write short stories as well. You can see my short stories and read them, and the companion songs to some of the I've written for some of the stories at a place called BlueRailroad.com. It's an online magazine of the arts with great in-depth interviews of major songwriters, and also a blog by Peter Case and poetry by John Doe. It's a great place. I'm glad to be there. BlueRailroad.com, and I'm in the Switchyard section on the table of contents. I'm going to kick off with a song that was on my first record. The record was called Follow a Hunch, and this song's called Bonnie. Chris Cooke played drums on this, as did Chad Watson playing the Telecaster chicken pickin'. She was working the counter at the Kennedy car wash, sucking on a cigarette. She was reading Soldier of Fortune, and her eyes had criminal intent. Well, I sucked in my gut, I buttoned my fly, straightened up my collar. I said, could you change my money? And I gave her a 20. She handed me 40 half dollars. Bonnie, 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 let me be your Clyde. I got a wife at home with 4.5 kids and a girlfriend on the side. Bonnie, 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 let me be your Clyde. I know I look like a jerk, but when you get off work, could you take me for a ride? Her Mustang was filled with unpaid tickets, but Bonnie didn't look concerned. She sucked another cigarette down to the filter. I was hoping we'd both get burned. She fishtailed the car, then kissed me so hard my lips felt like they'd been stapled. We went to D.B. Cooper's and we threw back shooters till I was looking at the bottom of the table. Bonnie, 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 let me be your Clyde. I got a wife at home with 4.5 kids and a girlfriend on the side. Bonnie, 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 let me be your Clyde. I know I look like a jerk, but when you get off work, could you take me for a ride? She was laying on the couch with one foot in the air, twitching like a stray cat's tail. Her body was covered with tattoos and studs, an illustrated braille female. Well, I took my time reading the instructions, even the ones on her ass. I was an old tomcat who just wanted to be bad. Yeah, I was licking the aquarium glass. Bonnie, 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 let me be your Clyde. I got a wife at home with 4.5 kids and a girlfriend on the side. Bonnie, 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 let me be your Clyde. I know I look like a jerk, but when you get off work, could you take me for a ride? She pulled out a .38 caliber pistol and loaded it with one bullet. She said, let's make love while the sun comes up, and we're playing Russian roulette. Well, I sucked in my gut, I buttoned my fly, and slowly backed away. I said, it's funny, my dear, how things look so clear in the first strong light of the day. Bonnie, 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 I can't be your Clyde. I got a wife at home with 4.5 kids and a girlfriend on the side. Bonnie, 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 I can't be your Clyde. I know I sound like a jerk, but I'm late for work. Would you mind giving me a ride? I know I sound like a jerk, but I'm late for work. Would you mind giving me a ride? Bonnie. I'm going to do another song that's off my Built Myself a Greenhouse album. This is the title cut. It's a song that was inspired by the Ken Burns Civil War series, and I'm going to kind of do a speeded up version a little bit of it. It's At the end of the series, David McCulloch, the host, said tens of thousands of pictures were taken of the Civil War, but at the end of the Civil War, people were so traumatized by the carnage that they recycled those glass plates that the photographs had been taken on and turned them into greenhouses where the images of war were slowly burned away by the sun. And I'm like, wow, that's a song. So I wrote a short story about it, which hasn't been published yet, but I also have a YouTube channel that has some of these companion songs, and this is one of them. It's called Greenhouse. I tend a garden downstate in the wilds of Illinois. You might say I'm married to the soil. But in the spring of '61, Jeff Davis drew a line, like we was water and Dixie was the oil. By the time of my enlistment, Manassas had occurred. 481 good men were killed. But I am just a gardener with 2 humble green thumbs. Firing a gun is not my skill. The only shooting you should do is with this boxy thing, they said to me to calm a panicked fear. Light comes on, hits the glass, captures what you see. So with a so-called camera, I took up the rear. We hung a sheet between 2 poles, and everybody posed, while I refined my portraiture technique. The boys were full of bluff and bluster in their uniforms, and then 100 died at Wilson's Creek. Roses blooming in the snow, cut down with a sword. Someone spilled red wine against the white. I trampled out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. Nowadays I'm standing in the light. I photographed the things they carried and the things they lost, including gangrene limbs and all their friends. But I'd have given anything if I could recapture the essence of my own lost innocence. From Chancellorsville to Chickamauga, I did my duty well. A wagon of glass plates I did collect. At Appomattox Courthouse, I saluted General Grant, turned over a bloody retrospect. Ulysses sorted through the pile for hours without a word. At times he worked a cigar in his mouth. At last he shook my hand and said, I've got no use for these. Went off to finalize things with the South. Now to haul my wagon back to Springfield took me several months, 'cause every hour I had to stop and stare. For though we'd saved the Union, there just wasn't nothing left. The country I had once known wasn't there. Roses blooming in the snow, cut down with a sword. Someone spilled red wine against the white. I trampled out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. Nowadays I'm standing in the light. The garden I'd once tended was wild and gone to weeds. Crows and goats ignored me as they grazed. I built myself a greenhouse with those photographed glass plates. It seemed a shame to let them go to waste. Sometimes the faces mock me, enshrined in black and white. Sometimes I want to smash them with a spade. But other times the sun breaks through, and for a little while I watch the memories blister, pop, and fade. Roses blooming in the snow, cut down with a sword. Someone spilled red wine against the white. I trampled out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. Nowadays I'm standing in the light. Nowadays I'm stranded in the light. Hey, it's been great being on Chris Cooke's Acoustic Lounge. My name is Robert Morgan Fisher. I have a website, robertmorganfisher.com. Also, you can read my stuff and see my stuff at bluerailroad.com. So anyway, I'm going to turn it back to Chris. And again, thanks for having me on the show. Have a great day.
Thanks so much for hanging out at the Acoustic Lounge today. Special thanks to Robert Morgan Fisher for telling his stories and his songs, man. That was awesome. We'll see you on the next episode.